Good afternoon and happy Grand Revel champions. Welcome to the weekly Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms live stream. My name is Dylan and I am your host this week, just like last week and the week before and probably next week, but honestly who knows what the future holds, so that may or may not happen. Before I begin, I'd like to thank the Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons & Dragons team for hosting us on the official D&D Twitch. It's awesome being a part of the Thursday lineup, which now includes Holly Conrad's new show, Trapped in a Birdcage, I think, starting in a couple hours. And I believe today we are also being followed by BCom Studios at 3. And then, of course, The Critical Role at 7. So it's a full Thursday lineup, and we're stoked to be a part of it. So this week's guest is going to be Dave Whittaker, one of our company co-founders, the answerer of tickets, a super mega developer, whatever that is, you can ask him, and Babylon 5 fanboy. He'll be coming in at about 2 o'clock p.m. in 1 hour to answer questions that are of the design, UI, etc. related variety. So if you have any questions related to that, definitely save them up for Dave. Just want to do a few shout outs to the people who are already in chat. There's a fair number of people here already. I see Garwar, I see Laura Noble Crazy, I see Damon Wrath, I think Thantano said something as well. Random Guy exists, Zelly Belly, Colette. Well, welcome to the stream. Damon Wrath, I am sorry to hear about your bad luck with birdsong chests. Some people have good luck, some people have bad luck. But we've got until next week, so hopefully you can get all your loot situation with birdsong sorted, because birdsong is good, like maybe too good. We're not planning to nerf her, but maybe too good. Smirkgrid, Silisa, Alfie MS, Xanoth, welcome. Xanoth, Avaith. I don't know what the second part means. So yes, welcome to the stream. And of course, as per usual, we'll be doing a handful of giveaways today, with the first coming along shortly. And then, another handful throughout the stream. So, yes, welcome everybody. I'm just going to switch over to my game view. Where am I? I am at 159, and for some reason the game is minimized. Here we go. Just getting this thing rolling. So, as we are waiting for Dave for the UI design related questions, which is a good time to give feedback on features and things that you'd want to see, like this, like the UI minimizer and stuff. That was all, poking Dave to get things done. So if you would like to poke Dave with some questions, please do, and we'll kind of queue them up and tear through them when he gets here. In the meantime, if you have anything else you would like to ask or ask me, I am here. I am here for you. So other than that, I'm just going to kind of keep plugging away at my free play here. I think I peaked at 255 in free play for this event, because Barrowin and Birdsong are really strong. So that's how it's going for me. RJ Johnson 221965, if you have a question, have at it. It helps us curation wise if you put in like question exclamation before your question in the chat, so that they kind of stand out a little bit. Silisa, one of the cooldown CDR alt items going to be fixed. They're not broken. they're capped, but they aren't broken. And so I don't know. I don't know what the ETA is on any equipment fixes. Certainly we are going to be doing an equipment pass at some point, because some champions have inconsistencies in what kind of loot they have and how effective it makes them. Yeah. They do nothing. I don't want any more of them. Okay. We're in early access. Nothing stays the same way forever, necessarily. So, I'm sure there will be some changes. Good question for Dave. We'll hammer Dave with that easy one right as soon as he sits down. Yeah. So, what do you want to know? What kind of questions do you have? I noticed the Reddit. God, Windows. Thanks, Windows. The Reddit Q&A had about a third or half as many questions as it did last week around the potion changes. So it was nice that it slowed down a bit. RJ Johnson. Okay, I got the 50 million gem plus one thing, but I don't seem to get many gems. How does that work? Are you referring to the global blessing that gives you additional gems off bosses? It's probably not something you'll notice right away because it just kind of it adds to the gems you get always. So you just in the long term it makes a huge difference, but it's not something that's easy to tell in the short term. And it's actually a bit of feedback we've received a few times about making it so the gems received through the extra gems received through the global blessing look different or something, so that you can see that you're getting them. And we just haven't done that, so I'm gonna make a note about that and bring it up again because it's not intentional. Very cool. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Read, shiny up and cooldown, hit 75% reduction at level 1, which makes literally all other drops in that slot worthless. Oh, really? It shouldn't. At level 1. That can't be right. Alright, well anyways, I'll make note and I'll pass it along to Justin and it'll be interesting to hear what he says. Yeah. Well, back at you, 00. And welcome to everybody else. What is that? Keck Spirit. Juganagardare. You know, when you do the capitals in lowercase like that, I can't read it. Lostian 86, Lacknor, Donyane, Spoiler Spree. Yeah, welcome everybody. Yeah, most shiny epics are at 75% at level 1. That's interesting. Baron Stormguard, hi Dylan. Did you manage to finish Lost in the Deep last week? I can't remember which one that is. Is that the one where it keeps removing slots? Because I haven't been playing it. I've been working on my favor in the event. So what am I sitting at? I got a decent amount of favor now. 5.5 E9. Getting there. Although it kind of caps out in how effective it is, because I think it's already in the 97% boost to the favor of my choice. So I'm not sure yet which one I'm gonna boost, but one of them. I guess we'll figure it out. Oh, I started it during last week's stream. I think I finished it. I can't remember. That was so long ago. Last week, one whole week. So many things happen. Yeah. Thantanos, what are your top 3 horror movies that scare you if you're alone? I'm pretty desensitized to horror films because I've watched so many. It depends on the mood. You know, jump horror kind of blows, but I will never get tired of watching The Thing, and I will always find it creepy, just because it's so unsettling and so well crafted. The Witch was awesome in the last couple of years. And I haven't been keeping up lately because I have a fiance who's averse to horror movies, so I rarely get to watch them. It's only like a guys' night kind of thing. So, and when I say The Thing, I mean The Thing from 1984, whenever John Carpenter's one came out, not the recent one that was kind of hit and miss. I don't know. It had its moments. Too much CG though. Let's see. Plumlow Co. How about access to characters from past events? Yes. So this is pretty close to our most common bit of feedback that we get, asking about how to get previous event champions or how to gear event champions if you weren't able to do it during the event or something. And it's kind of one of those things where we don't have another way to put them in the game that we like yet, and so there isn't something for it. You know, it's certainly on the list of our priorities to find a way to put it in that makes sense, that fits in with the design of the game, and you know, we're just not sure what that's going to take yet. So I don't have an ETA on it. Hopefully before we start getting into, you know, the second chances at some of these champions. But yeah, I mean, it's on a fairly long list of features and things that we want to do. Sayarasta, how to get E-Gold? Just grind? Oh no, so this isn't a different type of gold. This is just displaying the game in scientific notation. So if I go into my settings here, I can turn it off, and then it's back to, you know, T or ST actually. You know, with 5.51 billion% gold find. I just prefer scientific notation because it's easier for my brain to look at the screen at a glance and see where I need to put money. And And for those joining us, or those just getting involved and starting the first of our raffles of today, this one is for our latest DLC. It's for a Minsk and Boo Go for the Eyes DLC. Because, you got to go for the eyes. So good luck and congratulations to whomever walks away with that one, because it's some nice gear. You get one of these shiny things, probably not level 123, but one of these absurdly good items, and then rares and chests and shiny things of shininess. Geosphere music. Whenever you guys do an update, if the game is running, I get locked up and can't rerun the program without rebooting. Any idea what's up? With you specifically, I don't know what's up, Geosphere music. So anytime something like that happens, if you can open a ticket and be like, hey, this is my setup, just so that we can get a better idea of it on our end. Certainly, there have been some times when updating the game has not been flawless, but it's something that we're working on, and we try to keep it as smooth as possible. And sometimes even there are other updates with things hidden in them, or not very well hidden in them, just so that the next update or event or thing that comes up can come in a little bit smoother. It's one of those things that with our development cycle and just the cadence that we're aiming for with releasing content that we're still really working on, and so it's less than perfect right now, but it's one of those things we hope to get ironed out as the development smooths out in the long run. Captain Nerl. Wouldn't Minsk be more efficient than Stokey on the rear spot? With the appropriate spec, of course. He would, but my Minsk is set to undead, which is for the ladder chunks of the 50 level rotations. So when you're fighting undead towards the end, and then you get up to Mama Poo Poo and her flesh golems, I have him at undead on here. That's why. So he's sitting on the bench until I get there, and then I'll be swapping over. Jawbreaker Clan. I've had a tremendous amount of fun since I found this gem of a game. Thanks for the work and the energy in it. Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying something nice. Yeah. Axis of Anarchy. I call shenanigans on the mostly lawful. You are absolutely not lawful. Well, mostly. I mean, what can I say? It should say mostly neutral, mostly, but I just, you know what? I'm going to change that now. Mostly neutral. Where's the thing? Blip. That should fix it. There we go. Mostly neutral. Mostly. I was really expecting people to get the Aliens reference before calling me on my BS, though. What's next? Tessin. Do you get more event tokens when offline versus when active playing? No. Event tokens are consistently doled out. So, I think it's one every 30 seconds is what the math works out to. So whether you're online or offline, you'll get the same amount of event tokens. The only way you can speed it up is if you have contracts saved up. And I have contracts saved up. Contracts will give you your event tokens for the amount of time that they use up. So I tend to save them specifically for events so that I can get tokens quickly or start the event more quickly, or if I really wanted to burn through the event in a much shorter period of time. So that's what that's for. Downane. Previously you mentioned an upcoming change to offline silver and bounty gold. Any ETA on that? Okay, so that was supposed, and by suppose I mean it was hopefully going to make the cut for the chest and potions update, and it just it wasn't quite ready, which also leads back to one of the reasons why we rarely like to to talk about features and things in advance, because they can get pushed. So it got pushed back until it was ready, and it's just still not quite ready yet. So we're working on that one. It's very high priority, and we're hoping that it's done ASAP. I don't know if that means that'll be in the next push, like the next time the game updates, but as soon as we can get it done, because we certainly understand how much people want that feature, and how much it matters for people being able to have the game close sometimes, especially on older machines when you can be using up a little bit more resources than some of the newer ones. So yeah, that one's coming, and I'll poke Dave about that again when he gets here, because he could probably give a more definitive answer than just soon. But yes, thank you for reminding us. Ant musical. Do you mostly come out at night? Mostly. I see. Somebody got it. Yeah. God, I love that movie. Sofdog22. Minsk is such a well-loved character and keeps us all amused with his ways. How come he doesn't get any dialogue in the interlude scenes between levels? That is a fantastic question. And you're right. I mean, dialogue so far has mostly been limited to the first few handful of champions, with a few rare exceptions. And Minsk is being left out. I'm going to make a note about that too, because, like, why not? I mean, not that he says a lot. He's not the most eloquent of wordsmiths, but certainly we could make him a little bit more chatty. Yeah. Okay. Clearly we need more Ashara dialogue. Why must I sign in? Yeah. I agree. I mean, I'm a fan of dialogue all around, unless I've forgotten to turn off the dialogue in free play, in which case, I come back to the game, I'm like, oh, it's still not as far as I thought it would be. So, it happens. Plain Edge, what is the blessing or whatever that is giving you silver gold drops? So those are enemies that have been punched by Stokey and then killed. Because Stokey will make enemies drop more gold if Stokey has damaged them before you kill them. That's it. It's that debuff. So it's just to let you know that you're getting extra gold. Just going to level up these characters here. How much gold do I have? Who do I want to level? Tank. I guess anybody that's at E25 will probably be set for some levels so that I can do my swaps later. Yeah, definitely Barrowin, because Barrowin is OP. Barrowin's so good. Alrighty, so Poopy Butts. What is the recommended favor before you do the last mission in the event? I think I did mine at 2E9, which is like a couple billion favor. Just because, just to keep the pacing. I mean, depending on the level of gear of your characters, because like if you're like me and like a lot of the other characters who have literally, a lot of the other players who have thousands of hours, and you've got DLC loot and you've got tons of epics, you can use contracts and stuff to kind of like push through, to kind of like just bulldoze your way through the content faster. But if you want to just aim to do it at a good enough pace, you want to make sure that you're able to hit the level caps for all the characters. And if you want to do that inside of a few hours, like 3, maybe 4 hours, you probably want at least a few billion favor to do that. And then it shouldn't be a few billion gold find. I can't remember exactly what the favor works out to that conversion wise, but yeah, it's helpful. Let's see. Patrick Sonoas? What is the weekly stream code? So the weekly stream code, I'm glad you asked, down in the bottom corner of the screen, is this week it is a Tabaxi chest code in honor of Birdsong and Grand Rebel, and it should give you a gold Grand Rebel chest. I'm just gonna pull up the shop. Ding! Oh, good. We entered it in properly. Every once in a while, we might unintentionally mess this up. Rare as it is. Man, it doesn't want to give me epics this time. I got a shiny, but my Tabaxi lose. Whack. What's next? Burnt offerings. I see you are using a majority of the event characters. Are they by design more powerful than the standard characters? That's a tricky question to answer. So my setup is very much dictated by the fact that as a Codename employee, I have all of the DLC, and then so I have the gold shiny epics that are available for all the characters, and so that kind of directs me into the characters that have DLC packs or have had sales or something related to it so far, just because other characters can't really compete, like Makos. Like Makos, my Makos is actually quite well geared, but doesn't have a gold shiny epic like Birdsong does, and therefore is just nowhere near on that tier, on that level. So that's the reason I use them. They aren't purposely by nature much more powerful than characters, but at the same time, like, you know, we do want there to be competition for slots, and so, you know, just as an example, like Calliope is a pretty phenomenal healer buffer, and you know, it's very hard to justify ever switching her out, except Dadius is better at buffing intelligence-based champions than Calliope is. So if you were doing a DPS setup focused on Ashara, like I was for a while, or another intelligence-based champion, then you would actually want to be using Dadius because he's clearly superior, at least on paper. So it's just kind of one of those things where your gear is very much going to determine which champions you're using, and RNG is going to very much determine the kind of gear that you have. Although you know, certainly it has improved a great deal in terms of gearing out your characters, at least in rare loot. Should be a lot faster now following that last update. Yeah. Let's see. Computer Ninja. It would be great if we could wait on the Minsk buff until we actually needed to choose, like at a wall, and still let him level. Why does choosing his buff act as a blocker? That's just the nature of the way that the game is built for leveling up your characters. So you hit that level, it's like it stops you. Now that said, if you're finding that you want to wait to choose or you want to switch it, these potion of specializations have been added to the game, and they don't drop a lot, but that is a way for you to switch it if you need. Yeah. Money's worth. So Deacon Scalesinger is the coming to the game, right? Deacon. Who's Deacon again? It's not that really awesome kobold that we totally want to put in the game someday, right? No comment. Why must I sign in? This was probably asked back when the patch hit, but are the new Fire Breath potions comparable in strength to the old Fire Breath potions? No. The old Fire Breath potions were busted powerful. At least the rare and epic ones were, because they were allowing players that either took the time to click themselves or used auto clickers or scripters to push radically far into content past where they should be able to, based on the way the game is designed so far. And so people were reaching levels, hundreds of levels further than should be possible before more characters and updates and synergies are added to the game. And so they had to go. And the new ones that we put in their place are quite powerful, but certainly not as powerful. And so yeah. So no, they're categorically not as good as the original ones were, because the original ones were busted powerful. Remedies. Can you get shinies for Birdsong out of her silver event chests? Yes. Yeah. That's where I got mine, actually. Because I didn't get the shiny rare from that chest, but I got the shiny for the golden laid loot. So yeah, my golden laid loot is not as good as an epic loot, but it's better than a non-shiny blue. Skywalker. Dylan, can you use up your gems for the gold chests and open them? Sure. Yeah, let's do it. What do I have for gems? Oh, enough that it uses a number. Okay. This is going to take a minute, actually. 10,500. Oh, I'm going to use all 10. Okay, well, whatever. Let's buy them. And anytime Justin or Dave wants to add something to the interface that allows me to spend gems on more than one gold chest at a time, I wouldn't reject that option. Next. Oh, I gotta wait for the animation. That's why it's not. Just gonna keep doing this until I've spent them all. Maybe I could do something else at the same time. Is this entertaining for you like it is for me? All right, 21 chests. Okay. I'd do a drum roll, but this whole setup will shake and the camera will get all wobbly, so I'll just I'll I'll just start opening them. Bounty contract. Oh yeah. No epics. Oh man. Oh right, yeah, the next button does that. I'm so used to the old setup. Medium bounty contracts. That's purple. One of these chests better be exciting. I swear. Like, oh. What could that be? Blessed Sword of Tyr. Reduces ultimate cooldown. Yay, ultimate cooldown. God, I love ultimate cooldown. It's so good. Alright. Ooh, 3 rares. Dun, dun, dun. God, I sometimes dream this music. I'm not kidding. It's just like it never goes away. Yeah, it's just like the soundtrack of my blissful sleep. All right, Justin, when does my bad luck protection kick in again for the epic? Cause I get some kind of epic something, right? It's gotta be soon. One of the next couple chests. Oh, there it is. Wait for it. Oh, it's potion. Oh, wait, no, that's a good one. I like that one. The epic damage potion that lasts for a whole run is awesome. Okay. I'm gonna save that one. Dun, dun. Alrighty. Oh. What is it? Oh, Delana loot. Yay. What's next? You see, this is the real reason I'm pushing for Delana buffs, is because I want my Delana to be good. Oh, another epic. Hey, I'm getting some better luck. Meanwhile, around the corner, Justin's like, must make his loot good. Oh, Mako's ultimate cooldown. Okay. Anywho. More potions. More potions. I want more epic potions is what I want. Those are actually so nice now. Dun. You have no chest. Purchase some at the shop. Wow, I'd love to. No. Alright. So. That gave me some gold. Oh, man. Getting close to max level on everybody. This is getting easy. Alright, I was not answering questions while I was doing that. But Skywalker, I hope you're happy. I'm looking way too far over to get to the questions, so I'm just going to move them over to this window, because that makes way more sense. Alright, let's see. Creepy Monster 83. Are you using DPS or healing Celeste in that position? All DPS all the time. But she always heals the character directly in front of her. So for this setup, it's great because she's also healing your tank. Alfie MS. More level upgrades for champions when? Soon. Soon. Letters number letters. I also am greatly enjoying the dialogue between the characters. It's one of the things that keeps me interested in the game. Would love to see dialogue from more characters included, whether in campaigns or events. Birdsong's dialogue, even on that one screen in this event, was fantastic and told me a lot about her character. Letters, numbers, letters. Okay, thank you for that feedback. I'm going to save that one. And for all the Codename employees who are not on stream right now, listening to me like they're supposed to, I will pass that along so that they get that feedback. Baron von Rasp. Why is Dritz in the same slot as Makos and Birdsong? That's 3 in one slot, while other slots only have one champion. I think Dritz should be an Arcan slot. Well, I don't disagree that on the power of the character, Dritz could justifiably swap with our top slot. If you look at the Steam achievements, 1% of players have unlocked Dritz so far in the game. there are, which basically means that the vast majority of players don't have them. And like, yes, that is skewed towards the more active players, but like, he's not a common unlock for people, and so we're comfortable having a third swap in that slot. We will get to the point where everybody has swaps. Like, it's an inevitability, and we will also get to the point where we have more slots. Like, we have 12 right now. We will eventually have more than 12. I mean, because if the slots are theoretically going up on a curve of power level, and I'm not saying this is how Justin looks at it because I don't know how Justin looks at it. I'm making this up right now. But if the slots get more powerful the further up they go, you couldn't have somebody like Elminster in any of the 12 slots. He would have to be 15, So yes, we will eventually have more. But it'll take us a while to get there. I hope that answers your question helpfully. Uzao. Is there bad luck protection for epics? There is, but I should probably specify that there's bad luck protection for epic drops, not epic equipment. So, you will get an epic drop inside 10 chests, but it might not necessarily be an epic piece of equipment. So, it's... at the same time, like, if you do get an epic piece of equipment, it will be something you don't have. Yay! I just realized that my Bayeli is finally all decked in epics. Sweet. Oh, what is this? Finally. Cool. No complaints there. More reasons to never swap her out with Gromma ever. All right. What else we got for questions? Silisa. I don't get the power level based on character slot that you guys keep referencing. Can you explain? All the characters max out at E28 gold, and the other characters have just as much value or more as the latter ones. As I understand it, and I'm probably getting this wrong, but it's how powerful the characters start when you first purchase them. So that's really it. And yeah. Other than that, like, I don't think I'm as smart as Justin. I can't understand exactly how he integrates all this stuff together. I've seen some of the planning sheets for like characters and like when they're coming out kind of stuff, and like he's looking at their races, their classes and specializations. He's looking at their genders, and he's just kind of like, he wants to keep the game as a good mix and a good diversity throughout its development, which is actually really difficult. And so, yeah, I don't know if I can get any further into it without spoiling something or getting myself in trouble, so I'll just stop. Daylight Asunder. More non-event campaigns, please. I can say that there definitely will be more. I definitely cannot say when. Yeah. Draugr. When, because you have to. Sell shirts. How about adding in a gold card with it? There will be shirts. I don't know when. So it's one of those things, like, we've definitely been dragging our feet on it a little bit because of the nature of our license agreement with Wizards of the Coast. Like, we don't actually have control over the merch at all. And so I don't know what the ETA is on shirts being available. But when they are, coming with a gold code seems like a pretty fair thing to me. I don't know if that's what we'll do, but seems fair. Maybe we'll figure that out. I know that if you go to the what do you call it? Joe Manganiello's company page, the one where you can get the Arcan shirts. If you get an Arcan shirt, you get a gold chest because we set that up way back. Not the Jox Machina shirts, the Arcan the Cruel t-shirts, the one with the Hydro 74 art on them. So those ones get you a gold chest code. All right, back to my questions. Sorry, I have a lot of windows open, so it's like, what am I looking at? I'm just gonna open this drink here. Also, Draugr, was that a question or a suggestion? Because you said question, but it's like. Suggestion from Daylight Asunder. Formations that have fewer than 9 or greater than 10 slots. Yeah, that'd be sweet. I mean, certainly you'd love to do some, like, who wouldn't want to do some epic campaign missions that use like 12 champions, right? I don't know when we'll get to that, but that would definitely create some design challenges for Justin to deal with. Yeah. What's next? Artemis. Oh, clever. Does Codename's agreement with Wizards of the Coast affect which characters you are allowed to use? Yes, it does. It very much does. Not just because of our agreement with them, but because certainly thinking about other content creators and their characters in D&D, like either Acquisitions Incorporated or Critical Role, those creators own those characters. So if we wanted to add a character from something other than something other than what Wizards owns as part of their canon, we'd have to make agreements with them and other things. So like it ends up being there are hoops to go through, and discussions to be had with Wizards of the Coast and with them, and all around and so on and so forth. And so it's like it's certainly something that we would very much like to do, and we hope to make that possible. And thank you, Lauren Obo Crazy, for linking Joe's shop in chat, because yes, he's got a wicked Arcan t-shirt, and I actually the whole office got them. I don't know if anybody ever saw that Instagram post or Twitter post that we put out through Idle Champions, but everybody in the office has one of those shirts. But like, I kind of wanted both, and I had to pick one, and I did pick one, but now I just miss having the other one. So I'll probably get around to ordering those at some point. Yeah. All right, what's next? Where am I? 190. I'm getting there. I'm still at the other point where other characters are killing enemies, though. So I was hoping that I timed the starting of this run with hitting my wall at the end of the stream, which is a 250. I can get past 250 if I use a click pot, but that flesh golem is just like so unkillable at that level. And then, yeah. I think my top has been 256. That was a good run. I don't know why that one was so different than others. Maybe I just timed my ultimates right or something. No idea. Scoin, 1,000 chests opened, 0 shinies. Oh, I'm sorry. That sucks. Yeah. I found for me that I get them in waves. It seems like I will open a few over the course of a week or two and then not again for a long time. And most of the shinies I have are from having purchased DLC. Because believe it or not, before Codename Entertainment hired me and I came on board, I was a friend of Eric, the CEO, because we had done some work together in the past, and he had talked about his game Idle Champions, and I beta tested it a bit, and I was playing and I was supporting it, and I had actually purchased some of the DLC myself, and so by the time the potions of polish rolled around, I actually got some. It was great. Let's see what else we got for questions. Dariana, speaking of Archon, what are the plans on making him a viable tank? I've yet to even unlock him, just to keep his loot out of the rotation till he's a bit more nice. Okay, so during the dev blog a couple weeks ago now, somebody could probably link that in chat, when we talked about what our plans were with changing chests and potions, we also mentioned, both in that blog and then subsequently in the patch notes for the chest and potions update. At the very bottom of it, there's a section talking about other things that we were aiming to get done, which included offline gold game, but also included an overhaul on our tanking and healing system in the game. Because right now the ideal way to play is just to focus on DPS as much as possible, and hopefully your Nayeli can take enough hits for you to get through each level up to and past your wall. And so, we end up with a system that's just focused on DPS, and like other characters like Archon, who specialize in tanking and survivability by themselves, because Archon will just heal himself, are not as viable as having another buffer in, which is what Nayeli / Bayeli basically is. So as part of that, a part of addressing that issue that we have right now, Justin is looking at doing an overhaul and creating a system for the game that makes all the tanking and healing relevant to the gameplay. And that can I have an idea of a way he has discussed making that possible, but I don't know that that's what it's going to take. And so we're going to be really scarce on any details related to that until much closer to when it comes out. And so when that starts to become ready, there will be a dev blog where Justin talks about what the plan is for how we're going to address it, and then we will do what we did this past time. We will do a stream Q&A where people can ask us about it. We can explain what it is we're going to do, and then we'll roll it out and see what happens. But the plan is to make tanking matter and healing matter, and just provide more alternatives for how you play forward. So at that time, Archon will probably be one of the best tanks, certainly out of the characters that are currently released right now, just because he's tough and he is not squishy, and so we'll get there. I hope that helps. In a lot map, is there any game records on how many chests we have opened? There is, but I don't think that we've provided anything in game other than the achievement progress for chests, knowing where just having that number available. And like one of our requests is to have a statistics tab for the game, so you can pull it up and like look at how many enemies you've killed, how hard you've hit them, and the stats. And so I'll just make a note here so that we can add that to the stats. Arn 420 OP. Can we get some other musics, please? Currently one getting extremely boring. Aside from the stream, I have it muted and I have my Spotify running. Certainly we could have more music produced to put into the game, but our focus is definitely on content. More written campaigns, more adventures, more events, more champions, more of that development. So I don't know that that's going to be a focus for us anytime soon, if at all. I forgot to switch midskin like I was supposed to now that we're fighting undead, so I'm just going to do that. Start maxing out some of these other characters. Getting there. Next question. Daylight Asunder. When you head out for lunch in Victoria, where do you frequent? Well, Daylight Asunder, I don't know if you are from here, or if you know much about Victoria, but Victoria, the capital city of British Columbia, for those who don't know, and the largest city on Vancouver Island, which is in the Pacific Northwest, and I think is one of the largest islands in the world. Victoria has some of the highest restaurants per capita of anywhere. Only places like San Francisco are like up in that echelon where they're just like, there are so many restaurants for every one person. So there is more than an abundance of choice. There are too many to choose, and the scene is competitive enough that there are always places coming and going. So there's always somebody somewhere new you could go for lunch if you wanted to. My brother-in-law had a restaurant up until recently that I used to frequent the most, both to support him, but also because he is a phenomenally talented chef. His name is Jamie, and he used to run Relish Food and Coffee, which was on Pandora Street in Victoria. And weird question. So I used to go there. But since it's not there, I tend to, most often I eat pho or sushi. So there are too many sushi restaurants to pick just one to go to. But just off the top of my head, there's a place called Ibizo right downtown on Government Street that you basically always have to get a reservation for, that is the best sashimi and possibly the best sushi in the city. I mean, it's debatable. It's to your taste. And then there's a place in Oak Bay over near where I live called Bon Sushi that I tend to go to. Ray Cool, I can't describe the taste of pho. It tastes like pho. It is amazing. try it. Yeah. So I hope that helps Daylight Asunder. Candyman. Wouldn't your setup be a little better if you swapped Barrowan and Calliope? No, because Calliope wouldn't be shielding Nayeli, which is why she's there. Certainly Barrowan would be able to buff more people, but the only person I actually care about buffing with Barrowan is Jamila. Me Newers 76. Some news about Blacksmith Scroll and reducing cooldown to ultimate max 75%. Okay, it's capped. So yeah, this is something that has come up a few times, and I don't know what's gonna be done about it yet. It has come to our attention a few times. It's been excuse me. I'm trying not to burp, which is why this is so awkward. It has been a core part of our Reddit Q&A, of a lot of the feedback we've received since the Chest and Potions update. Once the novelty and the excitement wore down a bit and people were able to start getting the kind of loot that they wanted, people started to realize that also introducing a cap to the effectiveness of ultimate cooldowns was a cap that people were able to reach much more easily. So I don't know what we're going to do, but it's definitely on our radar. So I'm hoping that we get to it sooner rather than later. Bilver. Will Archon ever get the artifact he earned / stole from his appearance on Critical Role? So you're talking about the Hand of Vecna. That's an interesting point. So I don't know. So we have an agreement with Joe Manganiello for the use of Archon, which you can see in the legal text at the bottom of our newsletters and stuff. But Archon has participated both on Force Grey, which is part of the official Wizards of the Coast, etc. But Critical Role is not something that's a part of Force Grey, nor is it something that's a part of what Wizards of the Coast owns. So I don't know where that lies in there. Certainly it would be a really cool thing to implement, him having his ghostly hand. I can't remember which hand it is he cut off. I think it's his left hand he cut off and replaced with the Hand of Vecna. So I don't know that we'll do that, but I know our artists and our creative team think it's freaking awesome and would love to in some way incorporate that at some point, especially since it would make Archon canonically like the one that's in our game and not the one that has been shown on other things, like a left-handed one with his bone cleaver in his left hand. So we shall see. Oh, I just need to drink a bit of water here. Acure Games. Dylan likes faux. London Fogs provides us with free chests and 2 hours of entertainment every week. Dylan for president. I so would not want to be president of the United States or any other country. Yeah, no thank you. But I thank you for your vote of confidence. Tank revamp equals Arcane revamp. Yes, Silisa, that is more or less correct. It will also, how many people have ever used Tyrell in his bear form? How many people have, it's just kind of, how many people use Gromma? Gromma's Circle of the Mountain, reflecting damage, which has come up a few times in the Q&As lately. It's something that will, make it'll make it a little different when tanking becomes something that you need to do. You might start thinking of ways to make it more relevant to have your tank reflecting damage back, that kind of thing. So, it's we want to make everything usable, and it's and we're working on how that all fits together. And by we, I mean Justin, and he's doing that both for this game and for our other game that he project leads. So he's working on it. Guy puts in some long hours. He's pushing himself real hard. So we will get there. Next question. Malsonic, will we see an event where the whole community has to participate as one to achieve a goal? Interesting. I don't know. oh, excuse me, so far shied away from anything multiplayer, leadership board, etc., leaderboards related, and so yeah, I don't know. There might be room for us to fit it in. I mean, I will pass that along as a suggestion because it's something that like has been talked about a little bit before, and we could do it. Giant Dwarf, I think it has to be the left hand for the Hand of Vecna. Also, it's Hand of Vecna. I thought we were all in Forgotten Realms, and Vecna was a Grey Hawk god. Vecna is a Lich, I thought, and can traverse the multiverse, the D&D multiverse. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I mean, as long as because Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons and Dragons were forward-thinking enough to create Sigil and other parts that allow them to access, the entirety of the multiverse of Dungeons and Dragons. There is room for any kind of crossover that somebody could come up with. But that just doesn't mean that it could easily show up in something of ours just because of the nature of being a licensee for Dungeons and Dragons and how those relationships work. So, yeah, who knows? I would not rule out anything, I think is how I'd leave it. Though I think it is very unlikely that we will have characters from like Dragonlance in here anytime in the near future. I know I said that right as Zelk was typing that out, I imagine. Yeah. I mean, I would love to rock a party with a Raceland Majir DPS because that would be awesome. And in his pre-nerf form, back when he was actually a kick-ass caster, but I don't know that that'll happen. Dark Sun halflings, cannibal halfling. Well, not just that. Like, I mean, God, there's so many cool things. My heart belongs to Everon, but Dark Sun is so awesome. Yeah, there's so many things. So many things. And yeah, I wouldn't rule any of it out. I mean, this takes place in the Forgotten Realms, but things cross over. No Kender. Sinister 242. No, it's not going to happen. Yeah. All right, next question. Garwar. It's more of a community has to earn X favor overall or complete X total events, total levels. Yeah, okay, yeah. I hear what you guys are saying. And just off the top of my head, I think of what, like, I don't know, what For Honor does as their community events, where it's like, we have this new temporary mode, play it until it's, play it enough. And people do, so. This is a 200 boss. Should I use some ultimates just for fun? Just to cast something? Oh, he's going to die too fast. How about these and this? Just die faster. Come on. Come on, Mama Poo-Poo. Nanny Poo-Poo. There we go. Next. Next question. Did anyone ever get the achievement for bear form? I don't know. I've never looked that one up. Quite literally, the only achievement I look up has been the Dritz one, just to see how many people are getting them. Yeah. In a lot map. Is there any chance of adding more item slots for the champions? Or changing the sprite of the champions to match the rarity design of the item? Okay, so this is a longer answer. I'm going to need a drink before I start this, just because my throat's drying out. Okay, so I can't speak to the adding more item slots to the champions because that's a pretty massive design decision that I have no idea what the status of it would be on for Justin. But in terms of changing the sprite of the champions to match the rarity designs, the characters aren't sprites. They're created in Flash, and they're assembled from Illustrator files. And so basically the idea, like right now, every character is decked out head to toe in a full set of their rare gear, at least by look. And one of the reasons that we keep it that way is because, like, we want the characters to look good the first time you boot up the game. They look sweet. And we wouldn't want them to look like they're wearing rags or, green and gray items from the get-go, because it's just like, you want your characters to look good right from the start. At the same time, on the other end of the spectrum, when you get to the point where all your characters, like my Bruner here, who is crazy well geared, are wearing all, epic, mostly shiny gear, you would think that like, hey, Bruner in the party, like he's going to be like, in this gold adorned badass suit of armor, but that literally doubles the amount of effort it takes to make each individual character just to have a whole other suit. And our artists are hammered hard, to the point where, when one of them is sick for a few days because of like this crazy office plague that we've been just hammered by this winter, that hurts. Like, we've been struggling, like, not to stay on top, but to like, we push to try and be far enough ahead that we can do extra things, that we can do other stuff, or we can start adding things other than just the regular content design schedule. But like, basically we keep them too busy to do something like that. So, if we do that, it probably won't be anytime soon, and I don't know if there's a guarantee that we will. But I totally hear and understand people when they say that like they would like for characters to, to look like they're decked out in, their level 20 awesome stuff. And it certainly it gets even more complicated in that like we have Dritz in game. Oh, I have to switch to him in order to see his stat sheet, and like the number of adventures that Dritz has been on, he wouldn't just be beyond a level 20 character at that point. Like, he's done all things. He's killed all things. He has battled things that no ranger should ever be able to do. Like, and so every character is kind of a snapshot of a specific moment for them. And like we've had a lot of discussion behind the scenes about like how do we articulate that? Like, do we add something to their bio that says where this character sheet is from, or where this bio is, like what it references directly, so that when players read it, they understand that it's that character at that time that's in the game. And we're just not quite sure how we're going to address that, and it's kind of on a lower priority versus a lot of other things that we want to accomplish. My Minsk is useless again, so there we go. Yeah. All right. So yeah, so TLDR, chance of getting more item slots, I don't know. That's totally a Justin question, and who knows at this point. And changing the sprite of the champions to match the rarity, probably not. Yeah. Black Anthrax. Are there plans to rework Hitch's more daggers to make it more viable against single target? I don't believe there are, because the intent of that specialization is that it's better for multi-target. Not that he would throw more daggers at one character, but it's so that he can attack more. Yeah. Noxious Taco. Is the favor boost you get from converting capped at 100%? I don't believe that it is. And I'm going to make a note, because I will ask Dave about it when he gets here, because he will probably know. Yeah. But it like the kind of curve that it goes up on in order to reach that, it's like you reach a point where getting more favor doesn't really increase how much you gain that much, so you just kind of stop bothering to do it. Locket or Locket. How many hours straight have you been on that Idle Champions adventure? I started this one. Let's see. I started it probably at 10:30 or 11 this morning, my time, which is about 2.5 to 3 hours ago. Because I wanted to make sure that I was at a decent level for the stream this time. So that was when I started that. Creepy Monster 83. I'm having a lot of trouble killing flesh golems. I killed the boss long before I'm killing his golem. Any tips? Yeah. So the boss doesn't have hit points the way that the other enemies does, so you can just plug away at him with anybody, but the flesh golem is reflective of whatever level you're at. The good news is he doesn't have an enrage timer, so he doesn't just power up and kill you. But it's gonna, if you're struggling to kill him at whatever level you're at, whether it's 100, 150, 200, gotta level up your characters further. That's really the only, or you could burn a fire breath pot if you want to do that. I don't know. And then last question before Dave gets here. Chomp the Spear. Any chance you guys would be willing to bring someone, a player who's achieved something, to the studio and have a character created based off their likeness? Garwar, for example. Is that your second account, Garwar? Is that what you asked that with? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that's something we've ever considered. It would certainly be really fun for somebody. Yeah, I don't know. Huh. Yeah, I'm going to leave you guys unsatisfied on that answer and just bring in my guest. I'll turn on his microphone so you can hear the chair. I even grabbed you a Red Bull in case you want one.
Oh boy, we like the third one today.
Yeah, what? Jeez, man. No wonder you were sick.
It's one explanation.
Yeah. Anywho.
All right.
So yeah, I'd like to welcome the Dave.
Was that
2-hour stream at the same time that our second raffle starts for a Bruner starter pack DLC. I think this one is for those who might not already have it. So good luck and congratulations. And we should probably just outright start. We should probably.
What are you trying to do?
Just get it closer to you because I want to hear the fullness of your voice. That sounded weird.
It did. It really did.
I want to pull up the. It was in here. This chunk here. So this is the Q&A
wants.
thing that came in this week. And so this is the new stuff, and that's the older stuff. But this is kind of these are the questions that I don't just get every day. I get every day. And so, you know, they cover everything from ways to unlock event champions to questions about the content roadmap, equipment overhaul, that kind of thing. But I told people that when it comes to UI, you're the guy.
That's probably fair, yeah.
Yeah. And so there's the section on UI. And then I believe we have some more questions too. So, yeah, we got a bunch of them. So where would you like to begin?
I mean, we can start with that list of questions if you want to go through it.
Yeah. So we've had a couple. These aren't so much questions at this point as they are suggestions, but options for things like being able to turn off the screen shake.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that doesn't come up very frequently that I've seen from, at least in the tickets. I think I've had it asked once before, and it often with UI changes, if something's asked once, I put it off as like, okay, I've seen this, it's been mentioned, but it has to come in a handful of times to say, okay, this is something people are actually interested in having done. I mean, turning off the screen shake can be added as an option into the some of the other pieces. It's not a huge deal there. It would we need to see. I mean, I guess it's just reached this list.
It's reached the point where I'm making note of it. So it's come into me 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
From different people.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. Which is fair enough. Like if it's something that bothers you when you look at it. More champion-specific achievements.
Is that a UI-related request? And sort of.
It's a suggestion. It kind of ties into something that players are constantly asking for is just like a tab for statistics about the game.
Right.
And then like tons of stuff to show in it. Like they want to pull it up and like see every conceivable type of information, which fair enough.
It's one of those things that's a little bit funny because we have that in Crusaders. So it's something we didn't end up putting in here, and I'm not 100% sure why that got just sort of skipped over. At this point, it is something we could add. I'm not 100% sure what the state of all of the individual statistics are. So that would have to be made sure that was perfectly clean, because the ones that we've been using for achievements are the ones that we've been keeping track of most specifically, and others aren't quite as clean necessarily. Plus, there's a lot of them are stored in a way that's not easy to make user-facing, but it could be put on the list of things to look at. Yeah, like I said, we've got it in Crusaders.
Why not Idle Champions, man? Come on. What else we got? That one I will bug Justin about.
The clarity around the chest drop rates.
Just the if you look at our Steam store page and you scroll all the way down to the bottom where the chest drop information is. The language isn't consistent across the whole thing, and so it's people who don't read the whole thing are getting confused because we have the guaranteed rares in each chest referred to as guaranteed rare equipment and guaranteed rare drops. And people, when they read guaranteed rare equipment, they think that means that they're definitely going to get an equipment upgrade in each one, which isn't true.
Oh, it's not? Okay. I see. I would definitely read guaranteed rare equipment as meaning equipment, so...
Yeah, but it's rare drops.
But it's a rare drop. Oh.
So, like, it can be a rare contract.
I see.
Yeah.
See, that's news to me. I didn't know that. I thought it meant equipment. So
Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, so another indicator for unavailable champions, specifically in the Lost in the Deep adventure variant. So that's the one where you're in the sewer and every 25 levels one of your slots goes gray.
Yep.
And it's like a light gray, which doesn't look very different from when you haven't unlocked a champion.
Okay.
Contrast that to
when you haven't unlocked a champion, they're not gray, are they? They're just
the one
marked
that's
as,
unlocked. If you can't afford it, it's just gray.
Well,
and then when you
mean
can,
around
it's in
the
color.
portrait.
Yeah, just like the portrait. Like when you can't afford it, it kind of grays out in a weird way.
Do we not show the character portrait itself as gray when they're not available? Like actually like grayscaled?
Yeah. Whereas in like pros and cons or a wise endeavor, we had a little like Ghostbusters icon over their faces to like signify that those slots were no longer available. Because the other thing that happens is it doesn't remove them from the formation when they're playing. So they tab out and they tab back and they're like, I'm doing less DPS. And it's not immediately evident what's going on because one of the slots is just like slightly shaded.
Right, okay.
And you can still level them and stuff too. So it's like...
It sounds like that needs another pass on just usability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially since I imagine we'll be doing things kind of like it in the future.
Definitely,
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the in-game journal overhaul. Just ways to sort it or see the information in different ways. Just because people are always talking about where is it, which one is it. I never look at it. Yeah, it's just kind of.
Okay, what are the suggested improvements here?
People want to be able to like sort by boss loot or sort by chests dropped or.
Oh, like a filtering system.
Yeah, just ways to sort the information in different ways. And then there's some more specificity requested about in terms of like what it's like when you open it and how things show up and stuff. But I'd have to dig through the feedback to get more ideas on that.
Yeah, I mean, those are certainly something that can be looked at in the future. The real problem is sort of where the priorities lie on that right now. I know earlier, before I got on, you mentioned a number of things that are being worked on, including things like the offline gold recalculation stuff. And I'm actually right this moment in the middle of working on a new feature that is not disclosed at this point. And so the thing about making changes like those is they do take away from the time that we're spending on these new pieces. So.
Yeah.
So it's a game of prioritization, for sure.
Yeah. Kind of just ongoing prioritization all the time.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I have all this stuff, and I don't know, maybe what I'll do is I'll post that somewhere where they can see it so that they know that we have that on a list. And then I can just get into the questions that the chatters who are currently with us have been asking. Although a few of them, like certainly the ones that pay a lot more attention to the numbers and have been playing the game more than I have, can answer a lot of these questions individually, but okay, Uzao, is anyone else having issues with the game not being able to start a new mission after a long run? So that's
that is not something that I've seen reported, other than I believe just before I came in, I was taking a pass over the tickets, and I don't remember what the name on the ticket was asking this, but I would wager a guess it might be this very person who's asking this question.
Oh yeah.
The answer is no. I haven't seen that other than that particular ticket at the moment. So I don't have any specific insight on it, but we'll take a look.
All right, next question. Garwar, is there a fix for the level 200 flesh golem issue? Its health is mountainous.
Right. I think you were just talking about that.
It has a crazy health pool, yeah.
Right, but
but it doesn't rage out, so you can sit there and grind away at it.
Right. So it's actually not a health issue per se. What it is that it has the same health that any boss at that level would have. The fact is that it's not raging out, which means it's not knocking you back, which means you're not thinking that you need what the obvious answer, which is you actually have to level up to be able to beat him, is not being as forthcoming as it would be if he just destroyed you and you got knocked back a level. Yeah. Plus, it is a bit of a juxtaposition to the hit-based boss, which you get through quickly. And doesn't really matter what your damage is at that point. So yeah, it's a weird setup there with the hit-based boss first. Maybe the fix for this is that it should just kill you when it gets to you, if you can't. Yeah.
And the flesh golem just
because that's a situation we didn't want to end up getting stuck in with the bosses, which is why the rage timer is there. Is that you shouldn't end up stuck where you're actually being able to tank it more than it can hurt you, and you can't hurt it, and then it's just a stalemate. or you would want to sit there for an hour trying to kill it. That's just no fun. And I know I had some odd reports around that where actually because of and this, I think you mentioned this earlier as well, the idea of how the event currency gets dropped, because you get an event currency like the tokens one every 30 seconds, but you actually only get them one every 30 seconds when you kill a monster.
Yeah.
So if you get stuck for a long time on one of those bosses, you just let it grinding there, the game says, all right, well, I owe you a bunch of tokens, but you haven't killed any monsters yet. So I'm holding on to those, and then the next 100 monsters you kill all drop tokens after that, because they've all piled up, and it does create a bit of an offset there that's not really the expected result.
Yeah.
So that's bad too. So shouldn't end up getting tanking on a monster for an hour. It's that particular situation, it needs to just run you over.
Flash Golem Rage Timer. Hot fix.
Yeah. Just
in time for the weekend. Lossian86. Are we getting an update today?
I can't speak to
that. Grey Hex. In the past event, we saw pixies riding wolves. What if we have a 2-tier enemy that, when health reaches a certain point, in this case, it would remove the rider of the mount? Didn't we do that? We did that with the Goblin Tower.
Yeah.
What are they called? The one that crashed my game.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the Goblin Stack.
I've got the name on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
It'll come in a moment. Yeah, no, we could certainly do that. It's always fun. Something jumps out. Maybe you have like something driving a mechanoid, and it comes out after you kill it or off of a mount. I think what we really want to see those more pixies riding things. Actually,
yeah,
I think that's going to be a theme going forward.
The army of pixies riding bears. The army of pixies riding turtles. I don't know.
Bears, turtles, rabbits.
Yeah. All right, Captain CRC. Any update on the borderless window mode? In window mode, Windows chops off the bottom part of the game, and I can't see how much leveling up a character costs.
Borderless window mode. I believe it is isn't it borderless? This question came up before, and I asked, what happens when you? I guess you probably shouldn't do that in the middle of the stream. So
no, because it is set up a very specific way right now, and that would not show up right.
Right. I didn't think it went like full screen, where it actually overrode the resolution underneath. I think whenever this question comes up, I'm like, yes, I should check that, and then I forget afterwards. So you should send me a follow-up on this one so I remember to look at it. But
sure.
I thought that the window was borderless, unless they're asking for something different. Because borderless window mode generally means instead of changing the desktop resolution when you change the game resolution, the game just renders that resolution and scales itself to fill that window.
Yeah. Great Hex. Is there any plan to add auto ultimates?
That's not something I can speak to at this time.
Yeah. I know what Justin would say. Letters number letters. Raging enemies that grow endlessly cause problems for my computer and also block out health bars from the formation. Any way to cap that? The yellow flame on the mob makes clear that it's getting stronger.
It is supposed to be capped. So I can take a look at that and make sure that it's... I guess I've seen some screenshots where they've gotten quite large, especially you're looking at like just the foot.
Just the foot
you got just the toe there.
Nice pixely foot.
Everyone's coming in with their smacks on the toe. Yeah, it's not supposed to do that, but it's never been sort of a game breaker in the sense of like, oh, this needs to be fixed immediately. I'm not sure exactly why that would cause any kind of system problems, but maybe if it gets really, 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 really big. Anyway, it should be capped. Yeah.
Okay. IGoo. Is the Barrowin buff fix coming anytime soon?
Run me through what the Barrowin buff fix would be.
I don't know. My assumption is that because Barrowin is broken, overpowered, and allowing players to do some crazy shit, that they expect that to change.
Yeah, I think at the moment Barrowin is where Barrowin's going to stay for a while, unless there's something I'm forgetting about.
It's a balancing question for Justin, anyways.
Yeah, definitely.
RJ Johnson, will we ever be able to buy like 5,000 gems for $10, or just buy so many gems for real money? I would love to buy $100 worth of gems.
No, I don't think
that can't be a real question.
Is
that a real question? These guys are being cheeky. Ray Cool and Lacknor both asking about how to get the game music.
Silly question.
Yeah. When is the OSD coming out? Yeah, totally. You weren't just recording it right now? You've got the whole thing on loop for an hour and 16 minutes. All right. Dritskin. Are there plans to add an auto clicker to the game like the one in Clicker Heroes? Maybe costs $5 or something per clicker.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we're thinking about, but we have nothing to announce about it at this time.
Letters number letters. Any plans to make it easier to see health bars when fighting very large or raging mobs? Also, could the height of a raging enemy be capped?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's actually in the list. That's in the to-do list somewhere, to make it so that the health bars show up over top of monsters when you're in combat with them. It's not a very high priority item on the list, but it is on the list.
Let's see. Omar 1978. Will you add the champion's health bar above their portrait in the future?
No, I don't think so. I mean, that was something we actually had on the portraits in earlier builds of the game. It's really cluttered down there, and it just made it even worse. And so we actually went out of our way to try and pull as much off of that as we could and still retain all of the information that we felt was needed on there. And even as it stands, that was a bit of a compromise. So no, I don't think that's coming back.
Okay. All right. Freaky one. Shameless plug here. Do you guys buy your computer equipment from Memory Express?
No. I don't actually even know what Memory Express is, but clearly it's something they're plugging.
Xanthanos, what is the hardest part of your job, and if D&D ever pulls their license, will you guys keep this game up on Steam, even without updates? Thank you for all your hard job and efforts.
That's a good question. What is the hardest part of my job? I mean, it's probably working with no. What I end up doing for the most part is working on sort of the tech side of the game. I wouldn't say that it's exceptionally difficult. Yeah, that's a good question. Sort of, what would be the hardest part? I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say I'd be able to put my finger on any individual piece of that. I think maybe the more tedious part would be when we are working on putting together new UI elements and UI pieces. They often have a lot of little intricate moving parts that, while aren't technically complicated to put together, can actually be very tedious and time-consuming to get all working exactly the way they need to be, especially alignment and scaling. When you start setting up the game to scale at different resolutions, everything in the UI actually is set up to fit itself to the space that's available, while not becoming stretched or skewed, and getting all that pixel perfect can be quite tedious. And then for the second part of the question, I think if we lost the license of the game would end up getting pulled. I don't think we'd be allowed to continue to sell it with a pulled license.
Yeah, I don't know. I suspect that might be it. Hopefully that never happens.
Yeah, no. We have no reason to believe that would happen.
Yeah.
But
Lachnor. David, can we please have ×2+ scalable ultimate buttons for HD and old people with bad eyes?
Yes, we need to look into the HD stuff for sure. The challenge with that right now is that we don't have any. We have no 4K monitors here at the office, which is something that we probably need to get so that we can see what the game looks like at 4K. I know on some of the smaller laptop displays, for example, without overall screen scaling, it's going to be a tiny game. So we need to look at that for sure. But it does mean we're going to need to pick up some more hardware here, so that we can do that.
Okay, I have my caffeine this afternoon. All right, Artifexy. Please allow upgrades during level transition. Everyone hates the 2-second interruption.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. That would mean that the display was still active, or that the transition was underneath. Yeah, I guess it covers the characters. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be a priority.
Kitty Big Butt. Could we have audio-visual feedback if formation presets are not available? For example, when Nayeli is duking it out. So
Yeah.
the issue being, like, if I tried to change formations right now, if I had other ones, it wouldn't do anything because Nayeli is getting punched in the face by a bunch of rats.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't any feedback right now. That's right, and that probably should have a better way of showing that actually you can't do that because you're in combat. That's worth doing. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just lost. Like, why isn't this changing? Oh yeah, I'm still. Yeah. Yep.
Let's see. Suggestion. Possibly make the chroma enable selectable color based on favorite character. For example, Minsk purple, Brune, or red. I'm not sure what that means.
Oh, the chroma stuff. That's for the keyboard.
Oh, see, I never played with the keyboard thing enabled because this is an old Dell keyboard right now, not the Razer one that we use for the booth setup.
Yeah.
I see what they mean.
I'm not sure about that. We'd have to actually.
I'm gonna make a note about that actually because that ties into something else that Eric and Clive and I were talking about like a week or two ago. Might have been 2 weeks ago actually because Eric's been sick all week. So.
That's true. The bloody plague here.
Yeah. Forel, can we get a button that levels up your people to the highest possible, like the one in Crusaders? Level to max button. I think I added that to the feedback thing. Yeah, there it is.
I'll have to ask Justin if there's a reason why he didn't want it included at the get-go, or if it was just an oversight. I mean, it might have been on purpose. It might have just been like it didn't fit on the UI, and we're like, we'll leave that for now. But
I think it was just like 110, 25, 100. From the
yeah,
get-go, right?
And then the upgrade eventually got put on that. But yeah.
Okay. Oh, you'll like this one. Codename Entertainment. Why do you consider your game early access as opposed to open beta?
No, sorry. So early access is just a Steam, not a set state, I guess. It's, so one of the ways you can release your game on Steam is first through early access, which is just a way of saying that the game might not be complete and we're looking for player feedback. Eventually, we'd like to get. I think actually probably coming up pretty soon. We'd like to get it into a full release mode. Open beta, I think, is actually just another way of saying early access, just not through Steam's nomenclature.
Mm-hmm. So, which is interesting because titles not on Steam, like Fortnite, say early access, which is a Steam thing.
That's true. That's true. I mean, I think one of those, once they pick up, like once that becomes the nomenclature that everyone's used to, then that's just how people refer to it, even if it's
like
not.
MP3 player. As if anybody listens to MP3s anymore. Alrighty. Letters, number letters. Could level transitions have an option to not show the black screen?
The answer is that, that black screen is actually it's hiding the level transition. It's hiding the level load, right? Like it's like when you're loading a game and there's a loading screen that pops up. The items aren't there yet, right? So they're actively loading, and that's what the screen does. And the transition screen actually covers up that state where there's no background yet. On a faster computer, it's almost instantaneous. On a slower machine, there'd still be a delay in the middle there where there's no
where
graphics
it stays
loaded.
black for
Yeah, because there's no graphics loaded.
Oh,
so I mean that's sort of there's a reason for it to be there, and one of those reasons is that it's covering the loading of the next area.
So you could have it go black and then just say loading. And then go.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted it to not be there, it would have to be there'd be a momentary pause when things.
I think the biggest gripe comes from the fact that the champion UI disappears, so people can't continue leveling up. Like if they're clicking on somebody, it's like they have to wait.
Yeah, I mean that was the earlier question for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would be an aesthetical question as to if we put the black underneath the UI there, if it looked okay, or if it wasn't confusing.
All right. So Ritek Sawa, this has come up before. Still waiting for notifications about game updates, like the streaming one, because my game is always open and I constantly miss the start of events. So we use the notification for the stream, but we don't use it for anything else. Whereas it could be like Grand Revel starts now, or reset your game to, etc.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly something that we could look at doing, putting in at least something to pop up and say update available. It's almost the event starts are actually often very much tied to a client update. But yeah, we could certainly have something there that said, hey, event starting or event available. Yeah, it wouldn't be immediate. Most of that stuff happens when you save. It says, oh, look, there's new stuff. So, but at that point, you're often required to get an update anyway, which still require you to close the game and restart it, because you don't have the new data for the for whatever event's starting until you've gone through that loading definitions part at the beginning of the game again.
Okay, this is a weird one. Royal Gentleman. When I plug in my Havoc mouse on my MacBook Pro, the game can't run. Unplugging it and restarting the game fixes it.
I can't speak to that. It's sort of individual specific hardware issues.
Does anybody here have a MacBook Pro and or a Havoc mouse? I don't know that we do.
I'm not sure even what a Havoc mouse is. I know what a MacBook Pro is.
Calibara, why does Twitch Plays Idle Champions not work? Seems to shut down whenever there's an update. That's probably true. It probably just got forgotten.
Yeah, I think that probably needs a manual restart when we get an update out that forces a.
Yeah.
What do we got there?
Yeah, it's down right now.
Yeah, certain updates.
Damn it, Peter.
Need the client to get restarted, and somebody forgets to do that, or isn't told to do that, or.
Campinos. There we go. Let's see. Next question. Ant Musical. It is impossible to see my tank's health on most levels when a mob is attacking it, and clicking on my tank's portrait to see their health covers the game. This is where we need some way to see their health bar.
Right. So we covered this earlier. This is on the list. It's certainly something that's been requested multiple times. It's just something that hasn't been able to make its way up the priority queue at this time.
All right. Baron Stromgard. Will you consider adding chests awarded via mission completions to the journal loot display? Right now it only shows chests you've won in the adventure, but it doesn't appear to show ones awarded at the end.
Yeah, I mean, that can be added for sure. I thought that would be in the... it should be there. In fact, the data for that should be there for sure. In with like the event completion stuff. So if it's not there, we can look at putting that in. We just need to get that bumped over onto the list. Because it should have been there if it isn't.
Cool. Alrighty. What would you say the DC save for your office plague is? Or does the whole office staff have low con?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we got hit twice with something here, because we got something about 3 weeks ago that took out a handful of people, and then this, which took out an overlapping set. I managed to pretty much dodge the last one, but whatever this was.
It seemed like, aside from Justin and Michelle, everybody's had it at least once.
Yeah, but I think this was something different, at least from, it seemed like a rough cold, cough, that sort of thing, whereas the last one lasted a lot longer for people. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but...
Well, Nick got both the plague, and then he got a sinus infection out of it, so
right.
That took him out. And I think I did as well in December. But I've been pretty much fine since we got back into the new year, at least.
Yeah, I mean, fingers crossed it doesn't get something out there that just really put a kibosh on production here.
So I always just want to blame Corey and Eric because they bring exotic diseases back here.
Right.
You know, like they're the ones that are out and about a lot. Yeah. It's their fault.
I second that.
Yeah. Giant Dwarf. Can we switch formations even if the tank is under attack, as long as the tank is the same for both the formation and the save slot?
I mean, from a general standpoint, I'd say the answer is there's no reason why we couldn't set it up to do that. It just needs some additional edge case pieces put in to look at, so that it could be done. I think right now it was set as just if you're under attack, you can't switch. And we have to talk about it further to make sure there wasn't any edge cases we're missing there, where taking advantage of for switching them out.
You're certainly always targeted by an enemy, because there's never not an enemy on screen that's moving towards you.
Yeah, it's not the targeting, right? It's like being under attack, right? That's the stopping point. Yeah, I mean, it could compare and see if you're the same enemy, then you can switch. Maybe.
All right, Uzao, have you considered allowing us to level champions with the keyboard? For example, Control or Alt or Shift plus the number corresponding to that champion.
I mean, you kind of run out of numbers before you get to the end of the list, but
well, we've never had a party with more than 10. So in theory, because like the alts already correspond with it, right?
I mean, we could put numbers on that. I'm not exactly sure.
Of course, if we do have parties of greater than 10, then
right, but that would have to be based on like who was in the formation, and we'd have to show that somewhere to indicate which one you were leveling up, right? As opposed to having it down on the portraits, it would be a little bit trickier. Mm-hmm. Because if it was on the portraits, you could, do the obvious 0 through, well, 1 through 0, I guess, and then you'd have 2 extra.
It's like a D10.
You could have it all change depending on where you're scrolled over on there, but I think that might be more confusing than helpful for a lot of players. Yeah, I mean, I guess the real question on that is it a problem for leveling that it's needed to be on the keyboard?
Could be. I mean, yeah, it just might be easier for some users. Silisa, you have incredible patience. Just wanted to throw that out there. Oh, thank you. Let's see. Curve. Currently, as you can see in the live feed, the only way to see damage on a character in the top or middle of the formation is to hover over them and see the damage in the pop-up. Will there ever be a way that the character pops forward in the display to see their damage without the giant pop-up?
What do we have?
So right now it's like you see their damage over here, but like they're thinking that like I mouse over Celeste right now, and then you can see it in front of everybody.
Right. You can mostly see. Yeah, I see. So you can generally see it, and except for it's covered up a little bit there. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously that's one of those cases where all the the UI there is already incredibly cluttered, or not cluttered, but well, it is cluttered. I mean, it's really complicated to get all of the things that we wanted to display balanced with how much space we had to display there and not covering up everything. And we ended up prioritizing being able to see the actual characters, as well as being able to see as much of the incoming buffs as possible at a glance. The numbers underneath, I guess again, it's a question of sort of what it is you're focusing on. I'm not sure that that'll ever be a priority piece for that, but I'd have to see a case for why it was something that was more important than seeing the other pieces. Even then, it's a tough one because it's definitely a compromise of what we can get into the little space that we've got there, and it's definitely not perfect.
Yeah, certainly the buffs that are behind the champion, you can't even see what they are. I know that it's there.
Yeah, some of that's just to understand that it's there so that you know that there's something to look for. Because of course if it was absent completely, then you wouldn't be sure whether they were incoming or not. So they're helpful hints in some cases, but that aren't necessarily obvious on their face what they are.
Yeah. Okay. Thantanos, David, are there any new games by Codename Entertainment coming soon? Can you give any spoilers?
No, we're not currently working on anything new at this time. Nothing. No spoilers to give, and our entire focus is on Champions right now.
Noxious Taco, how about a web API that pulls our party info about item levels and stats, etc.? Would help in knowing where to use blacksmith contracts.
I mean, that's a cool idea. We've done that for some of our other games, so that we could have character information shown on the forums and stuff. But probably not something that we'd be able to prioritize at this time. But it's a cool idea.
Keep mouse overing that thing. It's driving me nuts. All right. Let's see. Ice Flare 42. Whoops. Any plans to drop the bottom UI to only show ultis when you click the button in the upper left? Oh, so they're wanting to hide the rest of it.
Hide the entire UI. I mean, it's not something we've ever discussed. I mean, I guess could give it a more cinematic look. It's not something that's on the list right now. We get a lot of requests for it, though, maybe.
Alrighty, next question. Very cool. You have a Mac version, but not a Linux one. Why?
Primarily because we have to maintain and build and do builds for each version that we release every time we release it. We use Unity, which means that at least we've got a pretty straight path to each build. But having a Linux build would add another build to have to support. And as far as we know from the numbers, there's not enough players that are A, on Linux, and B, don't have access to one of the other platforms to play games on. So it'd just be an additional overhead that for the number of players that we'd have on that platform, it doesn't seem like it's a good use of our time to be maintaining the additional builds.
Let's see. Letters, number letters. David, thanks for the clarification on the transition screen. Is it drawing the new background itself that takes so long?
It's the loading of the new background. So depending on where you are in the game, the assets themselves, actually, we try to package most of them with the Steam build, but depending on whether or not it got packaged or whether or not it's in an immediate update, like sometimes we push up the event without adding an actual update, it means that the game can get those assets on the fly from the server. So could very well be downloading that asset at that time. So I guess it covers the downloading, covers the actual loading, and then the processing of that asset. So it takes on
That's actually pretty quick, all things considered.
Yeah, it's not too bad. On our development computers here, I mean, it's less than half a second kind of thing, easy. But on the slower computers, it could be a longer delay.
So this is something that players are experiencing when they have a slower connection. Say they're in another country, or
yeah, if it wasn't included with the Steam asset bundle, which, like I say, can happen sometimes. Depending on how long it takes to download, there could be a delay there as well. So. I mean, yeah, I guess depending on how bad your internet is, or how far away you are from our servers, either one of those two things could make it take a couple of seconds or even longer. But
okay.
Only the first time. After you've got it, it would be much faster.
So this is an interesting question from Stills 101. Can we have a form of unique identifier as part of our chat name to prevent someone duplicating a player's Steam name and trolling?
Yeah, so the Stills, I did actually get a ticket from this chatter, or someone with that very same name, who had someone setting they set their Steam name to his Steam name, and because Steam actually lets you have what do they call it, the profile names, they can overlap. They don't do a check on that.
They don't seem to care.
That then you show up as that in our chat, because as we show your Steam name as the chat name. There was an issue in our chat code, which I dug up after receiving that ticket, thanks to one of our previous students, who checked to when you were looking at accounts by name rather than by ID. So you couldn't mute the right character or the right chatter depending on the order that they come into the chat. Now that is fixed. It should never have been by name, so it should always have been by the ID of the player connecting. The additional identifier, the question would be, which one would you get and what order would you get it in? I mean, I think with being able to actually go in by their ID and flag them that way, you should be able to report them now instead of reporting yourself. So that would be the thing to do, and if people are doing that, then we can apply a chat ban to the account for doing that. If it continued to be a problem, which is that was the first time we'd seen it as a problem, we could consider putting some kind of a unique identifier on the names, like a number. You could be, Stills _2 or whatever, and that would at least uniquely identify you. But yeah, so for now, because it hasn't been something that's come up more than the once, as far as I know, and because we did have that issue that's now fixed, if it does happen again, we report the player and we'll ban that player for some short period of time for that sort of behavior, and if it becomes a real problem, we can put an identifier on it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a weird one for sure, because it requires you to change your Steam name, and then you have to wait for the period to come through so that it's so that our chat actually updates your name. And
I remember at one point I couldn't find a user because their Steam name had changed because they're in a clan or something. And then they're like, this is my Steam name, and I look it up. I'm like, I can't find you. Or this is my email. I look it up. I'm like, I can't find you. It's just like,
right.
Just it gets complicated. So, alrighty, Weeman 1100 Jr. How do you plan to stop people from using external programs like Cheat Engine to speed through the game or give themselves free gold?
I mean, that's something that we've always been aware that players can do, and it's something that if you want to go in and cheat your way through, you're kind of spoiling the game for yourself. But at this point, we don't have a way to actually to stop that. So
you'd need like a Punk Buster type thing.
Yeah, something like that. But it's come up for us when we've talked to people about it. It's basically you spoil the game for yourself if you cheat, and so you're ruining your own fun.
Alrighty, Giant Dwarf. Any way to see the journal logs for previously completed events? Also the early tutorials, as the dialogue is one of the real gems in the game.
No, there is not. There's not currently a way to to go back any further than about 2 weeks, I think, is how much data we store on that. So.
Okay. So we wouldn't have like, last month's run.
No.
Okay.
No, it actually turns into be really a huge amount of data for everyone's accounts to keep track of sort of all the actions that have occurred. So we have it on a running window because otherwise that data will fill up the server and then people will be sad when it doesn't load. We usually are quite sad when that happens. Shit nervous and wonder why people haven't been clearing out tables. So yeah, it's in a 2-week window.
Huh. So what's this? Erica just added something to this one, but just a diary of area quests. So, for example, being able to pull up all the previous missions you've done and like read the dialogue.
Yeah,
people wanting a chance to be able to go back to that story.
That we could add because that data is, as opposed to the journal entry for like what you did and what you got. The actual data of just the quest text, of course, is something that we have. But it's not something that like we can prioritize at this time. Like I say, it's a big list of items that we're working on, and we have to focus on the pieces that are really the new content pieces, the new features. That's what gets the majority of our attention, or major game-stopping bugs. Fingers crossed. But I mean, there's a lot of sort of really neat ideas in there for things that would sort of quality of life make the game a little more, a little nicer all around. But they're gonna be on the list for a while, I think.
Okay. I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, it's funny that you're like, oh, I'm working on a feature right now that I can't talk about. I'm like, great.
I'm interrupted from this feature too. Who knows how much further we get in it?
Yeah.
Delaying it a whole hour.
Yeah. How long until offline gold gain gets from
so the offline gold gain is something that Mark was working on, and he conveniently took a vacation this week. That was on his to-do list. He was working on it last week. It'll be something that he'll be working on when he gets back. So it's underway, but I don't have an ETA on it exactly, but it's getting done.
It's getting done.
Yeah. I guess it really started to stand out once there were characters that had really massive changes to how much gold they were being dropped. Like in the terms of like with this character on stage, it's 1,000 times more gold that the actual average from how much monster gold is being dropped just by being at this level became really out of sync with how much you would actually be getting. So really needed to get looked at.
Okay. So let's see what we have. Do we have more questions, don't we? Yes, we do. Okay. Since storing runs is too data intensive, any chance you could release the scripts to Reddit or a wiki? The scripts for the quests.
I mean, it's
the dialogue.
It's certainly a possibility. And we'd have to have we'd have to have a reason to want to do that beyond and keep that up to date, because it does end up adding overhead to that. That actually feels like something some enthusiastic players might actually do. I know we have a number of players who do actually look at the upcoming data and make guesses about what's coming. So we may or may not have started putting in stuff in there that is.
Well, you can't tell them that we're putting in stuff that's disingenuous because now they'll know.
No, anyway.
Because I've seen them pull out stuff out of the files. I'm like, yeah, that's totally coming, and it's not.
Yeah, it's certainly something we could talk about, but it does feel like something that some enthusiastic players might put up if that's what if there was a demand for it from the community.
All right. Arso12 wants to know if we thought about adding voiceover for the quest dialogue.
No. It's one of those things that would turn into a pretty big endeavor, actually, to keep that all.
You'd have people recording voice.
It would be a lot
all the time.
A huge amount of work. It's actually one of the things that even makes translating the game a challenge, just because there's so much text.
Next question, Casso78. Would it be possible to have a view of just the characters you are using in the formation showing in the bar? For some scenarios where you can only have 5 and are not using others, it would be nice to be able to hide them. back to the UI hiding people thing again.
Yeah, I mean, it's been asked a handful of times in a handful of different ways. It's not something that automatically jumps out to me as something that would have an obvious way to do that wasn't confusing. And then it also, the question, the initial piece of that is the value add to it. It's one of those things where it's, there's not an obvious answer to how that would be turned on or off. It's not an obvious answer if you were pulling people in and out, if when you pulled someone out, that they would just disappear from the bottom there immediately, which would be a little bit weird. And then I guess the question becomes, what's the overall goal? Like, why is the request there? Which I think is because people are concerned about leveling up the wrong character. So it's a matter of occasionally you'll accidentally spend a little gold on the wrong guy. Yeah, I just need more further information into what's happening, why it's being requested. Is there a good way to do it? Would it be more or less confusing for players who may or may not have accidentally turned that on? And yeah, is it just because you want them not accidentally level up a character? Maybe there's another way to go about doing that. Maybe there's a way to lock a character, so it's actually I don't want to let this character be leveled up. Or maybe even there's just maybe the thing to do would be to have a setting that says, hey, if this character is not in the formation, lock the level up button. Maybe that's a setting that players would want. I mean, we'll need a little bit more feedback on that, because if that's the goal, if the goal is that you don't accidentally level up a character, then it might be better achieved by having like a setting that says just lock out the levels on this. Although I still feel like I get players who would contact me saying, I can't level up this character, and like, you turned the thing on. We have every now and then we get a report from Bushwhacker, from someone who's I can't see my character. My character's invisible, and the reason is because the last time they played the game, they put on the one ring.
That's hilarious. Royal Gentleman. Previous events coming back anytime soon? I missed a few champions. Also, any plans for new rewards for those events?
So the previous events will be coming around. They're currently on a yearly schedule, so they as we loop back around to our original events, which are coming up. I guess there's more time has passed on this side than there is between the next event coming up, if that made sense. But our current plans will be to rerun those events, barring anything changing around that. But that's the current plan. And in our previous games, we've always added new rewards to events that we repeat. So I would be really surprised if we didn't end up with new rewards in those events.
Okay. Garwar, would you consider changing the indicator for shiny and golden in the overall UI to something easier to recognize when it comes to the difference? Maybe an icon instead of just a colored line box. The lines are small enough to make it difficult to know which is which. He's talking about these, I imagine.
Yeah, it would have to be those,
like the little tiny ones, not the.
Because the big ones are pretty.
The big ones. There's no confusing that one is one and one's the other. But these ones, it's like looks like it's like almost like a single pixel gold line and a single pixel silver line.
Yeah, I mean, we could add that to the list of requests for the bottom box there, if that's what the concern is. If it's for the larger cards, and a follow up on that would be helpful, because I guess the borders on the larger cards are quite different, obviously.
Okay. Baron Stromguard, will there be an Idle Champions modeled after the Codename Entertainment employee portraits? Dylan the Dothraki. I don't look like a Dothraki. I mean, I don't mind being compared to one, but
not at this time. Certainly, we have done it in the past. I think there is a Justin Crusader. Is there? I think there is. I think there is. Or there's certain characters we've done in other games as well, but we just have so many D&D characters to pull from. There's no shortage. Yeah,
there's no shortage of Forgotten Realms characters.
Yes.
Nevermind, Greyhawk, Kryn, Dragonlance, etc., and so on and so forth. Like, there's just so many.
Yeah, so we're going to be pulling from those for forever, I think, at this point. So I wouldn't expect to see that, just because we've got so many D&D characters, so many Forgotten Realms characters specifically to get through. And then I think you spoke earlier to some of the ones that we've been doing with like Critical Role and
we would
Force Grey and
characters we would very much like to have in the game. Yeah, that people are starting to really care about too, right? Like,
so there's a big queue for characters.
Yeah. All right, next question. Any chance we could have separate volume sliders for user-triggered actions?
I guess I'd have to know what specifically a user-triggered action would entail. Is that
like music and sound effects,
like clicking, the ultimates? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what fall in that category.
Well, if I turn these sound effects up.
Yep. Yeah.
It just gets noisy. So I suspect they just want a little bit more separation, although what specifically they want and whether or not that matches any other user, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things, sort of it's interesting and slightly unfortunate about the way the game ends up being played, is because it ends up background so much, most players actually turn the volume off, because otherwise it's going to interfere with all their everything else that they're doing.
Yeah.
And so
I can't listen to my 90s grunge music playlist and listen to this game at the same time.
Fair enough. So I actually did a check recently to see, sort of out of curiosity, how many players had the sound turned up past 0, and it was on the play server that I checked, only 5% of players had the sound on. So.
Oh yeah. Maybe we do need more music.
I didn't check the music. I just checked the sound.
Okay.
I would assume they'd be very similar. But.
Alrighty. Oh yeah, here we go. There's more. So questions like actively sweeping coins, clicking ultimates, opening chests. Yeah, that's a lot of different sound effects. I mean, having individual volume sliders for each one would be kind of.
I mean, I think they're suggesting they're like those ones fall into one category and the other ones fall into the other category. So.
So, one is the stuff that you're doing, and the other one is the passive stuff, like characters stabbing and being hit.
So, still having sounds for opening a chest and getting cards, but not having sounds for characters getting hit and just general combat sounds. Yeah. I mean, it's certainly something that could be done. I'm not sure that it's something that, as I say, about 5% of players have the sound on. So it's not something that is going to make a lot of difference to a lot of people's gameplay experience.
Cool. All right. Well, it's 2:52, and we're going to wrap up the next few minutes here. So you have 3 minutes to explain why Babylon 5 is better than Deep Space Nine.
Oh no, we're not doing that in 3 minutes.
I'm kidding. Yeah, I don't know. Is there anything you want to add? Like anything that you're working on that you'd like to, in any way, be able to be like, like we're working on X, Y, Z, and 3.
Yeah, I mean, something that players are probably interested in hearing is that one of the things we've been working on in it because of the best way to phrase this without giving away the. Let's just say that we've been working on some performance improvements, and that the results of those performance improvements have actually lowered the memory footprint by quite a bit, and will actually reduce the amount of time the game spends drawing by a significant amount. And those will be coming probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We'll see those rolled back into the main game branch. And so that should actually, especially for people who are running on lower end hardware, it'll make the game take up a lot less resources in the background. And so that should make everybody happy all around.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I mean, I have 32 gigs of RAM at home. I don't notice, but at work I do. Okay. Well, yeah. Thanks for taking the time out of working on new features that we can't talk about to join me in the stream and talk about those things. And like who else to thank? Thanks to Erica, as always, for running the Codename Entertainment Twitch, doing all the raffles, getting all the questions, managing a million other community-related things all at the same time. So thanks, Erica. Thanks, Dave. Thanks to Wizards of the Coast for hosting us on their stream. The series premiere for Trapped in a Birdcage, the new Planescape game that is going to be hosted by Holly Conrad, comes up today at 5. And of course, after that is Critical Role at 7. But I also think that today, Tales from Candlekeep is coming up right after us in about 5 minutes. I don't know if that's Sophie or who at BCom that's going to be, but they're coming up next. So thanks everybody for joining us. Thank you. Have a good weekend. Cheers.